Hey everybody, welcome back. Devin the OG, the original Grognard, here for Lock and Load Publishing, and we are back at the table looking at Bougainville The Forgotten Campaign. We are going to continue this. I think this will probably be my last video. I just wanted to go ahead and point out a little bit more of the mechanics and just do a little bit of more gameplay and show off the game a little bit. I do want to go back, and there were a couple mistakes. I know. I made a mistake in a previous video. Who'd have thought? Yeah. I kind of at one point made an example that if the Americans had a beachhead in, say, this hex, and basically anything within 2 hexes is considered a road hex for the Americans, and I pointed out the mountain. No, you can't. The dark brown, those mountains, those are prohibited, so you can't even move into it. So I shouldn't have said that would have acted like a road hex, because they can't even move into it. But knowing the Americans, we're going to try to build roads everywhere. That's just the way we are. The other thing I wanted to point out, a little bit mistake. Well, not mistake, but something I overlooked in the combat. Units already fatigued, exhausted, retreat 2 hexes. All right, so basically what we're talking about and what I'm referencing to is when this unit was here and they were attacked, they got the DR result. They should have retreated, or no, they were here. The Americans attacked them. They pushed them out to here. They retreated to here. They should have retreated another hex. So, they'd have retreated to there. They'd have gotten there the same way, but, I voluntarily moved them back. So they ended up there regardless. Last thing I wanted to point out, there is one rule that I didn't mention, and I probably should. I kind of touched on last game. We have these white attack factor value units, the Special Naval Landing Infantry, Sniffles. And I indicated that they can't attack. It's not really true. Starting at turn 7, the Japanese can start doing bonsai attacks. I don't think we're going to get that far in this playthrough to demonstrate it, but starting at turn 7, the white numbered units actually can start attacking as part of a bonsai charge, and as you can tell, it increases their attack value, but also increases how many casualties they take, as bonsai charges are wont to do. So yeah, those are 2 things that I kind of messed up in the last video, and honestly, compared to some of my other videos, it's actually pretty good. And I did want to point out that there are mechanics in the game for bonsai attacks. So what are we doing? We're stepping into turn 3. Turn 3 allies, and hey, look, there's a little star. And so we have to look at the scenario chart and see what happens on turn 3. Well, I can tell you, the biggest thing, U.S. Army forces land, and some of the USMC forces withdraw. All right, so we're stepping into the Japanese turn. Now, it doesn't exactly specifically say what order you remove the reinforcements from the board. So since they've got to be removed, I'm just going to go ahead and just flat out remove them at all. There's kind of a vagueness to the fortifications. There are 2 types of fortifications in the game: Marine fortifications and U.S. Army fortifications, like so. Now, when the Marines are removed, I am assuming that is also saying that the attached fortifications are removed as well, because they obviously are in a different color than the Army units. But I'm not 100% certain, because really, when you get down to it, the rules also say that for the fortifications, you don't remove them unless an enemy unit moves into the space that they're in. Just for ease of gameplay, I'm going to just go ahead and remove them. The Army's going to want to build their own fortifications, probably mostly anyways, so there you go. Really, first thing we have to look at, we have to check what are we going to do with the air support. I think we're going to put that on close air support this time, rather than interdiction on the Japanese forces. Now, this is a Marine unit, but it does not get withdrawn unit. Withdrawn unit. No, it does not get withdrawn yet. Take a quick look at the scenario card, and it gets removed on turn 5. Right there. Amphibious landing and USMC forces withdrawn. So on turn 5, that beach defense unit will get withdrawn, but it's still there for now. And if you notice, this actually is one of the few U.S. units that has a white number on it as well, so they cannot attack on their own. But it's a beach defense unit, so you're not going to be attacking. You're just going to be taking care of the security, the perimeter of the airfield and the base, and that's what they do. So basically, at this point, what happens is all the U.S. Army units, and there is a plethora of them. I love that word, plethora. Oh, one other thing I did want to touch bases on, so let's get to that real quick. During the last turn, I had this artillery unit up here and decided not to involve it in an attack because the odds weren't going to be there. However, it is an artillery unit. It's got a range of 2, and it's within range of the beachhead. So as part of the combat phase, now this really doesn't do anything. I mean, the Japanese artillery can bombard the airfield. Has no effect on the airfield whatsoever, but what it does do is it gives the Japanese a victory point. So now the Japanese are up to 3 victory points, and then I just go back and withdraw the unit as I had originally intended to do. But had I been aware enough, then even though I didn't use the artillery in the attack, they were then still free to attack the beachhead. And again, that just gives me 1 victory point. There's no rolls for it. There's no way for me to damage it. It's just an attack. And it's basically a victory point grab is what it is. So anyways, back to all the U.S. units. Basically all the U.S. units, we're going to go ahead and keep the fortifications off. As part of their first move, they show up and land on the beachhead hex. Now, let's go ahead and just decide to start moving them. And you got to remember, everything within 2 hexes is considered a road hex of the U.S. beachhead. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at stuff. I'm going to have to stop here because I'm entering into the zone of control of somebody. So let's go ahead and put 1 and 2 army units there because it's jungle plains. I can get 2 units in there. This is not a jungle plains. That's considered a jungle rough because it's got the pattern in there. So let's go ahead and with 1, 2, 3. Actually, that'll be 4. But the landing and then a minimum move. Okay, that's the way that is. And let's go ahead and move. Oh, and it's road anyway, so yeah, I can move in there with one victory point anyway. So let's move there, and then land 1, 2, and remember, cannot move more than 2 hexes away from the beachhead. So that's basically. I do want to push a little more out here, but I'm stopped by the zone of control right here. So let's see, what else have we got? Let's go ahead and put that unit right there, because we can get 2 stacking for the jungle plains. Now, we do have some attachments. Well, not really attachments. They're just separate units, and they're small enough, excuse me, that they don't really take up space. So let's go ahead and put the armor unit there. And then let's leave 1 artillery unit there, and let's put 1 artillery unit there. So I think that's a good perimeter to start with for our movement. I don't have to check for supply, basically, or fatigue, because we took the Marine units off, and the oncoming Army units are not fatigued. We do have the close air support. 93rd Division is not on yet. In fact, well, let's just go ahead. The 93rd Division, that's the 93rd right there. And if you'll notice in the upper left-hand corner is the turn that it comes on. So on turn 5, 93rd Division comes on, and they're only on for 2 turns. You pull them off at turn 7. So, but they get the bonus that if they're on the field, that they can bleed off an extra fatigue from one of the allied units. And then since we're not doing any amphibious assaults or amphibious landings, we've just gone ahead and turned it over to the Australian amphibious flanking attack available, because the Australians, when they come on, will be able to do amphibious landings or amphibious assaults. And so they have this one-time bonus that they can use. Green Island hasn't flipped yet. So, okay, we're all good to go. I think that's it for movement. So let's go ahead and take a look at combat. And I think what we're going to do initially is, we got 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We can get a whole passel. 15 to 3, or we can 4, 8, 9, 10, 11 to 3. It'd be 3 to 1 odds. And then I can also do 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 4, 8, 9, 10. All right, so it's coming down. I can use the artillery to shift the odds, so that's 8 to 3. This is the one thing I do love, kind of these old style critical or CRTs of fractionals. And when I was a kid, I never really worried about it. I just, all right, these are the guys these are the guys I'm attacking with, because, you know, that's what it would make sense to me being a kid. However, the older I get, now I'm looking at the points hunting aspect of it. So we got 8, 11, and 8. Nope, 11 to 3 and 8 to 3. Where to put the artillery? Plus, I've got my close air support that I can use. I think it's more important to try to blow these guys out of here. So let's go 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Let's throw this artillery support in. So it's going to be 13 to 3, which is going to be 4 to 1, and I'm attacking into a jungle rough, so it's -1 column shift, so 3 to 1, and let's go ahead and use, no, we're not going to use our close air support on that, so it's going to be 3 to 1, and let's see what we can come up with. 3 to 1 at a 5, that's a good result. 3 to 1. At a 5 is a DRL. Take a look at the DRL. All defending units take a step loss, retreat 1 hex, and take 1 fatigue hit. All right, so they take a step loss. And let's put the step loss marker on there. Retreat 1 hex. Let's retreat up to here. And take 1 fatigue hit. All right, we cleared the hex, and so we can follow up. So what I am going to do is I'm going to move 1 infantry unit from the attack into there, and since I'm moving into the hex, that takes care of the fortification, so the fortification is finally eliminated, and I'm still within 2 hexes. And because I attacked, fatigued, and fatigued. All right, now let's take a look at this other attack here. We've got 8, 9, 10 to 3, which is going to be, I couldn't get that, just could not get that last point. So 3 to 1 odds. Attacking into steep jungle is -1 column shift, so it's going to be a 2 to 1, and it's a -1 DRM because I'm attacking into jungle steep. But I get the +1 from the close air support, so it's basically going to be 2 to 1 odds, straight up, no other modifiers. And we get a 5. That's good. 2 to 1 on a 5 looks like a DRL again. There we go, DRL. So they are going to take a step loss. They're going to retreat 1 hex, and they're going to be fatigued. That's not good. Remember, the Japanese need to use supply. Although I could have, I could have used that for the defense. I don't think it would have shifted the odds any. No, I don't think it would have. I don't think using the artillery there would have shifted the odds any. Okay, now I can advance into the hex because we have landed here, and the mountain is within 2 hexes. So let's move. Good question. Now let's move up here. Don't have much down here to worry about. We got a bunch of Japanese units up here. So I think moving this guy instead of this guy. Let's move him there. What I might do is pull one of these infantry units back, and then that'll be the perimeter. Yeah. This guy. Just not enough infantry to cover the entire perimeter, but that's okay. And so let's go ahead and get our fatigue markers. And they got fatigue. They got fatigue. All right, so that's basically it for combat. We go into second movement. Now, if I want to, I can start putting down fortifications as long as I don't move. I don't think I need a fortification on the mountaintop. That's going to be enough of a fortification as it is. We will go ahead and build a fortification here. We will build a fortification here, and that formation will build it. And we're not going to build the third because you only got 3 fortifications. So you kind of got to be careful where you put them. Because again, when you plant them, the only way they're going to get removed is if the enemy attacks them. And sometimes that's tough for the Japanese to do. All right, so that you do the fortifications first, and then now we move units. So let's go ahead and pull him back there to kind of plug that hole right there. We got an allied unit there. An allied unit there. This allied unit built a fortification, so it can't do anything. We've got two. Well, we've only got one. They've got. Well, you know what? Let's not be hard on our armor, guys. Let's go ahead and just push them one hex right there. That still puts them within 2 hexes of the beachhead. And they're going to have a real tough time if they want to try to sneak down through that hole, because they're going to get stopped immediately because of zone of control. So yeah, I'm comfortable. Oh, you know what? Let's go ahead and take this guy and move him there and plug that hole there. Yeah. Okay, that's better. We can move him up next turn, and then that'll give us a good perimeter. Yeah, I like that. Do I want to move the artillery? Yeah, let's go ahead and move the artillery up to here, so it can give support up here, and then this artillery can give support down here, and maybe a little bit of... Well, actually, they're too far away from each other to give much in the way of supporting. So... All right, that's cool. I'm happy with that. That's good. So that's basically the American turn. Flip over the Japanese turn. Now, Japanese, what they have to worry about, first of all, does Green Island flip? Green Island does not flip yet. It's not turn 4. Do have to worry about supplies. Let's take a look at the chart. Green Island, U.S. control, nope. Air interdiction, nope. Each farm garden, Allied controlled, none. So it's going to be just a straight up dice roll. Well, this is good for the Japanese, because they've been hurt a little bit on supplies the first few turns. We got a 2, and that's going to be 2 supply points. All right. But we had 1 supply left over, so now we're up to 3 supply points, which is kind of what we've been working with for the most part. So now we have to decide what supply they're going to go ahead and burn. Let's see. We've got a fatigue. We got a fatigue and a step loss. We got a fatigue and a step loss. I'm fairly certain, 99% certain, that I can use supply to flip a unit. Let me check that just to make sure. Step losses. Oh yeah, Japanese cannot recover step losses. Well, there you go. Okay, first of all, well, all right, let's spend one supply point to get rid of that fatigue. That's a sniffle unit. Of course, granted, oh no, that's a regular army unit. And that's a regular army unit. Let's go ahead. Crap. You only want to remove fatigue on something you think you're going to attack with. They're at half strength, so I don't need to remove the... That's okay. Well, let's see. We've got... I don't know what's there. No, I don't think I'm going to remove any more fatigue, mainly because I need the supply points for other things. All right, so that's done. Now we go into movement. First thing we're going to do is we're going to build a couple fortifications. I think we're going to build a fortification here. I mean, and honestly, I really don't... there's part of me that's saying I don't even need to have the fortifications there, because the American units can't move out. But, see, I get victory points. There are bonus victory points for me to still gather. So let's go ahead. Yeah, let's go ahead. No, they can't attack out. I'm not gonna waste the supply points. Let me go ahead and use one of my supply points to burn the fatigue, to get rid of the fatigue there. And that's it. That's all the fatigue. Okay, so yeah. Again, in the victory point wise, I get 1 victory point the first time I attack an American unit, and I get another victory point if I attack 2 American units in the same turn. So let's see if I can get that out of the way first. Get those 2 extra bonus victory points so I can kind of catch up. And it helps if I don't move the Japanese VP, I move the supply marker. Because the Japanese have got 3 VP. 1 for counterattacking the first turn, 1 for attacking a marine unit, and 1 for bombarding the beachhead. So they've got 3 victory points. There's 2 more victory points I can get throughout just out of just doing combat. All right, so we're done with our supply. And we're still in movement. I'm not building any fortifications. Let's move stuff. Those guys are good. Let's take both of these guys, move them there. Let's keep those guys there. He's fine there. Let's go ahead and move this guy back 1 hex so he's not right on the front lines. Because, you know, hey, if it's an artillery unit, the Americans can't occupy the hex, but they may attack the hex. And in fact, historically, that is what did kind of happen. If you kind of notice, there's this artillery hill right here. And the Japanese did several times move up artillery to it, and the Americans would go up, clear it out, and then realize it's a tenuous position and fall back. And again, I think the beachhead, when historically landed it right here, so, you know, 2 hexes, right about there. Actually, I think it was right there. So they would attack into it, but fall back because of the tenuous position, represented by just the beachhead perimeter rules of staying within 2 hexes of the beachhead. So we got that. Let's move this guy. Let's go ahead, move him back there. Move this guy up here. We'll do an attack there. Japanese Special Naval Landing Force. Oh, let's just move them back. Don't give the Americans a reason to attack us. We got an attack there. We've got a potential attack there. Let's move him into there for it's a victory point location. I think that's all the Japanese movement I want to do. I think I'm good with the Japanese movement. Let's go into combat. Okay, well, let's go ahead and take a look at what we got here. Oh, dummy unit. Pfft. All right, so I got a grand total of 3 points, or actually 1.5. All right, so we're not going to do an attack there. So let's take a look down here. There we go. Now we've got some decent numbers. We've got 7 to 4, and I can't get any artillery there. So it's going to be 1 to 1 odds. I just couldn't get that 4th point there. 1 to 1 odds, -1 for the fortification. And I think the air support, I think we're going to add in the U.S. air support. So it's going to be 1 to 1 at -2 on the dice roll. Ugh, not good. 4, 3, 2 on 1 to 1 is AS. Attacker stop, no effect. Okay, I can live with that. I can live with an attacker stop, especially when we're running right in the teeth of fortifications and airstrikes. It's January 45. I don't think they were using napalm yet, but that was my first attack on an army unit, or Japanese first attack on the army unit, so they get 1 VP. So that brings them up to 4 VPs. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to do an attack up here. It's going to be 4 to 7 because of that stupid tank. So it's going to be 1 to 2 odds. And no modifiers. So 1 to 2 odds, no modifiers. Oh, nope. U.S. are going to go ahead and call in, or yeah, the U.S. are going to call in. Okay, let's actually make sure we mark these guys as fatigued for that. Let's go ahead and call in the U.S. artillery support from this hex. So it's going to be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to 4, which is going to be 1 to 3 odds. No modifiers, but it's going to go badly for me. But you know what? I don't care. I'm looking for that victory point. 1 to 3 at a 3 is an ARL. Attacker units lose 1 step. Attacking units, plural, you lose 1 step and retreat 1 hex. All right. So let's just go ahead and move back here and back here. Pull a couple step losses. Step loss. And now let's put some fatigue down. Fatigue, and then fatigue for the artillery. Let's see, anybody else is supposed to get fatigued? Nope, no fatigued. Okay, so I had already gotten the 1 victory point for attacking an American unit for the first time. However, I do get another victory point for any turn you attack 2 army units in the same turn. So, there we go. Now we're up to 5 victory points. I've gotten the maximum amount of victory points for counterattacks in the first 3 turns that I can get. So, yeah, the Americans started off with that big 7-point jump when they planted the beachhead through an amphibious landing. But as you can see, I've been able to make up, a good chunk of those points. Now, you got to remember, the Japanese will also get victory points for any of their victory point hexes locations that they control at the end of the game. Going to be a little bit difficult to keep those when the Australians show up and they no longer have the restriction of having to stay within 2 hexes of the beachhead. But right now, the Japanese can kind of pull back, lick their wounds, and just kind of set up for the oncoming Australian invasion, as it were. So that was combat. Let's go into movement. And you know what? Like I said, I don't need to muck with these guys. Let's just go ahead and pull back. Pull back there. Let's move him into there. Let's see. Let's 2, 3.5. They get a fatigue marker. Let's go ahead. 1.5, 3. Those guys there. Is there any victory points up here I really need to worry about? No. Are there any rice fields? Nope, no rice fields up there. We can keep these guys here. That's fine. The Japanese don't know that the Americans are under, and they're okay. So they've taken a loose defense so far instead of continuing to try to beat their heads against the American iron that's in front of them. And that's fine. That's cool. So that's end of the second move. So let's go ahead and jump into turn 4. All right, and we got a little star in the upper right-hand corner. Let's go to the scenario card. And is there anything on turn 4? Yes. Turn 4 is Green Island, but that doesn't happen until the Japanese turn. So it's something to be aware of, but we don't have to worry about it yet. Next thing we do, supply and fatigue. Basically, for the U.S. or the Allied player, as long as they can trace a line of communications back to the beachhead, they get to burn off all their fatigue. So, and they all have a direct line back to the beachhead. So they burn off all their fatigue. Let's go into the first movement phase. First thing I want to do is let's move these guys here. Let's build I mean, honestly, it's all I can do. Let's go ahead and put a fortification right there, blocking that. And really, that's it. That's pretty much all the movement I've got. Everything is within 2 hexes. I can't move any further, and there's no Japanese. Oh, I forgot to do. Forgot to do the air sport. Yes, we're going to be bombing the farms because there's no Japanese for us to attack, so there's no need for us to have it on interdiction. Now, the Japanese could surprise me and come for it. I don't think they're going to do that, though. I mean, the Japanese just have not got a lot of forces that they can attack with. And most of their black numbered forces are now half strength. So, all right, so that's for the U.S. The U.S. goes into their their combat phase. No combat phase, goes into the second movement phase. Nothing to do. Don't want to shift anybody. All my fortifications are out. Boom, that's it. That's all I can do. Yeah, real quick. So, flips over to the Japanese turn. And, oh, look at that. It's turn 4. One of the first things the Japanese do, check for the status of Green Island. Green Island switches to U.S. control, and that's not good. So now we go into Japanese supply table. Green Island, U.S. controlled, yes. Air interdiction, yes. So we're at -2 on the dice roll for supply for the Japanese. We got a 3, and that's -2 is 1, so that's going to be 1 supply point. So they have 3 supply points now, and we have to use supply to get rid of fatigue. Let's get rid of that guy's fatigue. Let's get rid of that guy's fatigue. That's a sniffle at half strength. And those guys are at half strength as well. Do I want to burn? No, let's not burn my last supply point. Trying to get that, trying to recover them. All right, movement. Let's go ahead and take this sniffle and move them back here. We'll keep those guys there, those guys there. Let's have him move into the city. He can work there. Oh, minimum move. 1 hex there. Let's move this guy back to here. Not here because it's a victory point hex. That's a victory point. Yes, most of the victory point hexes are down here. I think there's 1. Yeah, bonus, that's up there. Bonus up there is worth 2 victory points. But we got a couple guys up there, and these guys, and maybe... And Numa. My favorite one, Numa. All right, well, that's it for Japanese movement. No combat. Obviously, we don't have anything to attack. Second movement phase. He's there. They're all... the Japanese movement is fine. We're good with that. And so then basically it'll flip over to American turn 5. At that point, the Marine self-defense force comes off, and the 93rd Infantry self-defense comes on. And since the 93rd is now in play, they can possibly do their air support. But what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and call it here, because basically until turn 7, until the Australians show up, the turns are basically going to go like nothing's going to happen. But again, I just wanted to give a little bit more of an example of how the gameplay is, what some of the game mechanics are, what some of the chrome is. I did want to touch bases on the Bonsai, which I did. But yeah, you can see a lot of action, first couple 3 turns, some calm in the middle, and then when the Australians show up, back to a lot more action. There are other restrictions that do start to come into play for the Japanese. Like I think at start of turn 7, any Japanese unit that's not adjacent to a port or base takes 1 fatigue loss. So actually I should probably be moving those guys back. And that could put a unit to exhaustion. Starting with turn 5, the Japanese have to play 2 supply points to recover a fatigue. Yeah, things start to go bad for the Japanese really quick. Basically at this point, they just need to dig in like gnats and hold whatever victory positions they could, because that will hopefully give them the victory points to make up the difference that that huge leap that the Americans got at the beginning. But yeah, this is Bougainville, done in conjunction and collaboration and cooperation with War Diary Magazine and Lock and Load Publishing as part of our Battles on Demand series. Fun little game, and as you can kind of see without me yammering, you can probably knock out the turns really quick. Hour and a half if you know the game. You get it done, flip sides, see who can do better between you and your buddies that are playing. That's all I've got. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms in the comment section below, and I'll talk to everybody later. See ya!